Have you ever felt the need to kind of just change things up because of lifing? Well, that's essentially what's been going on with me. I am making some changes to this channel and to my law firm, and I want to share with you what they are and why. So let's jump in. I've had some personal experiences that have really shifted the way that I think about the work that I do and has really impacted the way I want to influence and affect change in the world. Essentially, these changes aren't just about me, they're about something much bigger. They're about creating legacies that last. And part of the motivation behind making these changes to my firm and to this YouTube channel start with the loss of my father. 5 years ago, my father had a procedure in a hospital. He drove himself to the procedure. It was supposed to be an outpatient procedure, which means he's supposed to go in the morning, leave at night. That is not what happened. I'm not going to go into the details because that's not what we're here for, and y'all don't need to see me crying on this channel. But essentially, my father ended up spending the next 2 months of his life, and essentially the last 2 months of his life, in a hospital. He could not do anything for himself. He lost the ability to speak, the ability to move, the ability to function, and ultimately passed away. This was not expected. This was not what we thought would happen. And in losing him 5 years ago, I really began to think about legacy in a different way, because it wasn't some type of abstract principle or idea. It was real. I live legacy every day. I have to experience what it means for someone's person and being to endure beyond. And I've also had to deal with the very practical nature of legacy, right? Which goes beyond, what you own. It goes beyond the things that you've taught people. It goes beyond memories. It's really a combination of all of those things. And in doing that, I've also had a few other things in my life that continue to kind of support this idea of pivoting or enhancing the type of work that I do. In the midst of all of this, had the opportunity to work hand in hand, side by side with some of the best and brightest estate planning attorneys in the nation. And I worked with them for a number of years and essentially began to learn the secrets of legacy planning. Got to see how it functions for business owners, how it functions for the elderly, how it functions when people are prepared, how it functions when people don't prepare. And I realized how much what we leave behind depends on the choices we make today. The choices that we make today determine our legacy. It's not something that happens after we pass. You create your legacy now. And in working with entrepreneurs, the successful people who have the 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, I've realized that we become so caught up in surviving and thriving that we don't figure out how to sustain and maintain the wealth and legacies we create. We end up overlooking them and deprioritizing what matters most. I'll give you a perfect example. A couple of years ago, I went to a conference, and as part of the conference, they had a panel that was all about creating generational wealth. If you know anything about what's kind of one of the buzzwords, generational wealth is one of the in things. Everybody's about it. And I love that for disenfranchised communities. I love that for people who didn't have the access to preserve wealth in the past. I love it for us. But in this panel, I saw a mix of different professionals. We had a real estate person, we had an investment person, I think we had an insurance person, and those were great. But in the conversation, we had no one talking about the law. And let me tell you, ownership is not a matter of creation. Ownership is not a matter of creativity and intention. It is a matter of law. And in watching that panel, they had great insights, great ideas. But if we're talking about generational wealth, we have to utilize and leverage the tools that make things pass on from generation to generation. Because here's the thing about money. Money is here today and gone tomorrow if we aren't careful. Life happens, sickness happens, lawsuits happen. And for people who are high achieving professionals, people who are the first in their lineage to make the wealth that their ancestors could only dream of, I want to help us protect it. I want us to protect our assets, amplify our influence, and elevate our legacy so that the generations that come after us know what to do. I want us to unpack what the different obstacles are that stop us from sustaining the wealth that we create. I want us to move beyond the aesthetics of luxury and the aesthetics of wealth and move into the longevity of it by focusing on substance, strategy, and legacy. And as a result, I'm going to start talking about it on this channel. I'm going to start talking about it in my law firm. I'm offering those services to my clients already. It's something that we've been doing kind of quietly, but now it's time to stop being quiet. It's time to really embrace it. I care about this because I've seen the impact in my own personal life and in the lives of people around me. I've seen what happens when people plan and when they don't. I see what happens when people leave their legacy up to chance. And I see when they're intentional about it. The one thing that I can tell you, my father's life and passing has taught me, is that legacy starts now. It's about the intentional decisions we make every day. So I've made my decision. We're going to make some changes. And if you are interested in taking this journey with me, if you want to be somebody who's intentional about the legacy that you leave behind and taking control of it, I want to invite you to access a resource that I've created. It's called the Iconic Legacy Scorecard, and it's really an assessment to help you see some of the gaps that you might have and opportunities you have in your legacy planning. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. But what I want you to know as we conclude is that your legacy starts today. Let's start being intentional about how we craft legacies as leaders. Let's move past leftover legacies. Let's move beyond happenstance and let's be intentional. Now, if this has been content that has been useful to you, if this has really shifted your mind, I want to ask you to leave a comment below telling me about your experience with legacy and your experience with planning for the unexpected. Have you found that people in your community and in your space are prepared? What about the leaders that you've been in communication with or in contact with? What does that look like for you? Let's keep the conversation going. And if you want to continue to work with us and join us on this journey, you know how to follow us. The handle is the same. It's TOS Legal on social media, and the website is toslegal.com. Again, I want to invite you to remember that your legacy starts today. Till next time, talk to you soon. Bye.